Let's start there with the panel. Mary Catherine Ham is a Fox News contributor. Josh Kraushaar, also a Fox News radio political analyst, and Leslie Marshall is a Fox News contributor as well. Mary Catherine, sometimes we've heard some things from China before that they haven't lived up to. The president seems to think that this meeting went exceptionally well and they got a lot of takeaways.
Yeah, I'm not sure yet what we're getting out of this meeting. I'm glad we've got some promises on fentanyl and rare earth stuff, and also they're going to be purchasing a portion of the soybean crops that they would have done otherwise. But look, I think this is, on one hand, Trump's unpredictability can be really helpful with foreign adversaries and signaling like, hey, there are threats here and I actually will act upon them, and you're not even sure what they are. But his unpredictability when it comes to sustaining businesses and people who are planning businesses in this country and elsewhere trading with us, it becomes really tricky. Like this year alone, the tariffs with China have gone from 135% to 30%, up to a threatened 100 to 57, and now down to 47. And I think that's a faithful telling of the year on those numbers, but even trade specialists are not exactly sure because it has been all over the map. And when you have a situation like that, these businesses, I think, are having a lot of trouble planning and predicting. And when U.S. Customs even sometimes is charging wildly different things for one item within a certain week because they don't know what tariffs are, you're leaving a lot on the table when it comes to building a robust economy because people cannot make those plans.
Josh?
Look, the biggest takeaway from the China trip and also the visits to South Korea and Japan is that tariffs are going down. And that's been the leverage that Trump has used. It's been, I feel like we're on a roller coaster ride to what Mary Catherine has been saying, where Trump makes threats, there are deals made, tariffs ultimately are not quite at the levels that Trump had threatened. But in all of the visits he made, he cut trade deals, and it means better markets for American consumers, or producers, I should say, especially soybean manufacturers that now some of those conflicts have now been, at least for the next year, have been resolved. I think what's left wanting, though, is on the national security front, where Trump acknowledged he didn't even bring up the issue of Taiwan, which is a thorny national security issue that he's probably going to have to deal with in the coming years. And, you know, TikTok is still also on the table. We still don't have any developments on those lines. So there was a lot of punting on the national security issues. On the economic front, though, I think a lot of farmers, a lot of economists can breathe a sigh of relief, and tariffs are not going to be as high as threatened.
Yeah, we didn't hear the details on TikTok, but we understand that agreement is done. Leslie, here is the minority leader and the Treasury Secretary.
I think the Chinese realize that with President Trump in office, it is an opportunity to reset the relationship in terms of mutual respect.
It appears to most reasonable observers that Donald Trump was punked on the world stage by the Chinese Communist Party. Trump tariffs are raising costs on everyday Americans by thousands of dollars per year.
Punked on the world stage, Leslie?
Well, a lot of people look at it that way, Brett. And when I agree with my two conservative counterparts on this panel, you know, the deal that there was no real deal, no real trade deal that he walked away with was not that successful. So let's break it down. Soybeans good for farmers, but the problem is we're maybe going to levels that they were at before. It doesn't address the price of fertilizers and other supplies that the farmers, are reckoned with. We had the president say tariffs, add, remove, add, remove. That's chaos. That's confusion to the economy, to the markets, to the business owners, to the consumers. We also have a promise, a verbal promise and a handshake from China regarding fentanyl. Come on now. We know the problem isn't the fentanyl coming from China. It's the precursor to the fentanyl, which makes it deadly, which China has not been able to, promises galore, prevent from coming to countries like Mexico that end up where? Here in the United States of America. So this I don't feel is that successful. When you go from 100% to 57 to 47, you really have a 10% relief for the business owners and for the American consumers. And a lot of people out there are saying that this looks more like a win for China. And again, there's no solid deal. So we can't even talk about the devil in the details because we don't have that other than a handshake and some smile and photo ops.
Mary Catherine, you buy that?
Now, look, I think President Trump makes progress here, as Josh points out. He likes tariffs and he likes making deals. So it's kind of a win-win for him. But I do think, look, that because this causes some confusion and consternation when it comes to building businesses and building the economy, and because people are still dealing with prices, they're going to look at this large part of his economic program and go, is this working for me? And that is a question that he has a year to answer.
Talking about questions to answer, here's former Vice President Kamala Harris. She's doing this tour on her book and taking some interesting questions.
But wasn't Joe Biden then, to put it on him, wasn't his refusal to recognize his own frailties the reason that you faced a nearly impossible task?
I ran against Donald Trump for president, and Donald Trump ran on a platform that was, in large part, I believe, misrepresenting his intentions to the American people.
I want to interrupt you because that is a world-class pivot, but it is not the question that I asked you.
When you get that accent with the world-class pivot line, it is quite something. These interviews, what do you think of them, Josh?
Well, look, this is why Kamala Harris is going to have, if she ever wants to get back in the political arena, she's going to have a lot of hurdles because, look, she's not in politics right now. This is the time when usually former candidates are more authentic, sound more like their true selves, and she's still looking as stilted and uncomfortable in that tough interview with the BBC. This is why, you look at the polls, by the way, Brett, Gavin Newsom has now surpassed Kamala Harris in the national polling for the Democratic Party when you look as far ahead as 2028. So I think Kamala Harris, even if she may want to get back into the presidential arena, her time is long past her.
Is she running, Leslie?
I think she might, but I have to say, living in California, if you looked at that polling, she should have run for governor of California. I think she would have won. I'm not sure she won running as president. She wasn't the strongest candidate before, and I disagree with her. We as Democrats have looked at what we did wrong. The Republicans and Donald Trump and his base's message was louder to the American people, and I always said, if all those people and all those crowds at all those concerts and rallies for her show up to vote, we'll win. The problem is the numbers show they didn't.
Yeah. Panel. Thanks.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.